Hey everyone, welcome back to the 6-5 Summit. It's day 3. We are in the security track, and I am very excited to bring back a veteran of the 6-5 Summit, Joe Burton, CEO of TeleSign. Joe, welcome back to the Summit. So glad you were able to join us again this year.
Dan, thanks for having us back. It was a lot of fun last year. More good stuff to talk about.
TeleSign is a really interesting and exciting company doing some important work. You focus on a few different things in CPaaS, but also in security. And we're going to lean into security quite a bit on this conversation. But quick state of the state, how are things going over at TeleSign?
It's incredibly exciting, Dan. I mean, at TeleSign, of course, our whole mission is to make the digital world safe and fair for everyone. And with the explosion of cybercrime, all the talented people at TeleSign continuing to put us ahead of that crime, business is very good. It's been exciting. Looking forward to telling you more about it.
Yeah, no, every time I check out or buy something online now, I'm kind of looking for that that little trusted TeleSign symbol. So everybody, hopefully, by the end of this session that listens in, is going to be looking for the same thing. I think that's something that the company's really on to a good track. I think, building that sort of trusted brand, and you're a B2B company. And so sometimes when you're B2B, though, it's hard to kind of get that. What are those identifiers that we can put into the market where, yeah, we're selling B2B, but people are going to see this, they're going to know it's us, and they're going to, it's the like payment rails, for trust, something like that. And you've been talking a lot more, Joe, about consumer expectations around fraud, even though you are B2B. You guys published some new research. I've been out in the market commenting it. I think I even left a quote in the press release when you guys launched that. And I guess I'm really interested. B2B company talking more to consumers. You did this big study. What did you learn from this big study, and why is this so important to organizations around the world?
It should be important to organizations because it's important to their consumers. What you were referring to that we just launched was the 2023 TeleSign Trust Index, where we went out and surveyed several thousand consumers around the world. People with these devices like you and me and our kids, to really understand what their concerns were around cybercrime, safety, brand loyalty, and so forth. And we found some really shocking things in some cases. But it's really things that companies and brands need to be aware of. I'll give you an example. 50% of the people that we surveyed said they are significantly more concerned about telephone fraud, cyber fraud than they were 2 years ago. And nearly half of the people we surveyed had been a victim of cybercrime in the last 2 or 3 years. Significant number of them, in fact, 61% of people that have experienced fraud lost more than $1,000 on this. And those are the depressing survey statistics. A couple of the ones that are a little more fun, but it tells you how serious this is. Straight up, nearly one quarter of people said they'd rather be audited by the IRS than be a victim of cybercrime. Holy smokes. Okay. Now, that's how consumers feel about it. But what's even more important is how they feel about the brands that they're involved with. 94% of the people that we surveyed said it is the company, it is the brand, it is the application's job to keep them safe. Even a whiff of it's your job to have a good password. It's your job to safeguard. Don't call us, we'll call you. Even a whiff of that turns people off to a brand. When people are hacked, and about 40% of the people that are hacked actually were a victim of data breaches. We've all had this where we get that unfortunate email from the vendor saying, by the way, we lost your password when somebody got in, it's loose on the internet. 50% of the people that get hacked say they will tell their friends and family to never do business with that brand again. So they're worried that it's on the rise. They're getting hacked. They think it's the brand's problem. And if it happens, they're telling people to never do business with the brand again. I think it's really important to understand all that.
And it's a big challenge because there is a bit of an if and a when. And if you're a business leader, if you're a CISO, we kind of hear the industry. It's almost gotten to the point where it's like there's nothing you can do. You are going to get hacked, or you are going to have. And the fact of the matter is I think you would argue there are things you can do. There are things that can be done. And by the way, I'm being a little, uh, cynical because everybody does know you can make investments, you can encrypt more, your data, you can create more redundancy, you can invest more in backup. But the thing about that is that you can make all those investments and it's still there's no way when something does go wrong to be like, well, look at all the things we did. We are sorry. It's like, yeah, your NPS is going to tank. You're going to lose customers forever. And you can go back to some of those big, well documented breaches that took place with the credit scoring companies, with some of the
Yep.
retailers. You said the recovery period of time is extraordinarily long, if at all, that you ever fully win back the trust of that customer. But there's also this thing, Joe, and the world's all about experiences. Like you got to create
Yeah.
great experiences. So experiences mean make it really easy for customers, remove all the friction. It should be super. Of course, it's got to be secure, but people shouldn't have. All they should be able to do is tap one time, and it should buy the thing, and it should be no problem, and it should arrive right. How are companies like? What are the missteps and like you're seeing companies make and trying to kind of balance that delivery of a great experience with putting the trust or the security at risk?
Dan, it's such a great question. Creating a great experience is not about creating a zero friction experience. This is a place where I just feel like the no friction experience people have it wrong. The key here is to actually be on the journey with your customer. Now, if when you get off an airplane and you go to log on, and we all do this, you go to log on and it asks you for just another password and another two-factor authentication and another and another and another. That's annoying. On the other hand, though, if part of your customer experience, part of what you're taking the user through is, hey, it's a scary world out there. You look, it looks like you're in a different place. I want to make sure it's really you to protect you. Let me ask you for another piece of information. Wait one more second while I make sure it's really Dan. Suddenly you're assuring the user. You're saying I'm going to put you through appropriate friction to keep you safe. I'm not annoying you by slowing you down. But I think it's really very much about that whole in the user experience. Need to do another security check here. Looks like you've been on a plane. Gonna check you again. Hold on a sec. Suddenly you're turning friction into customer enrollment, something that enrolls you as a brand that's doing your best, not a brand that's being annoying.
I said that I actually recently had some issue with, my bank where clearly someone had gotten my user ID and was continuously trying. And so I was getting locked out because someone was going in and I actually kind of remember laughing about it, which is ironic that you'd be laughing about it. But when I went to reset the password with the bank, I said, I'm really glad I have two factor because even if someone has my password, they don't have my phone. And I said, so the fact is that second step is kind of peace of mind, and that's an important peace of mind. And to me, it's never too big of a pain in the butt to enter a 6-digit code to make sure that your financial of your company is safe. So these are good things, right? I mean, this is a balance of that's the balance of an extra step or a little bit of friction, but the ability to sleep sound as a business owner or even just in your personal financial life.
It is, Dan, and I'm completely with you. I think that additional piece of friction is good. Now, you and I kind of live in this world. I think the key is to bring into that customer experience those little prompts that say, I'm asking you for this additional piece to keep you safe. I'm asking you for this additional piece so you won't be hacked. And as brands do that, they can actually flip friction into caring, friction into a deeper relationship with the brand. And we find this very exciting.
Yeah, I think that's really important that you mentioned that. Now, unless you've been living under a rock for the last, I don't know, 6 to 7, 8 months, one of the big trend lines has been generative AI. And AI in general has grown really quickly. And that's a trend line where I always say, anytime we have a really cool new technology that can enable us to do cool things at work, it's also going to enable black hats and
Yep.
cyber criminals to get better at what they do as well. I'd love to just get your take, as a company that has what I would consider to be deep insights into threats to both, consumers and businesses. But what are the fraud trends that you think CISOs and business leaders, board members, and even just consumers really need to be paying attention to right now?
It's the generative AI topic we could spend hours on.
Let's
So
just do
we'll kind of
minutes.
slide past that a little. But the vectors that I'm most worried about right now really are ones that have been around a couple of years. Unfortunately, generative AI turbocharges them. The first vector that I'm really scared about, and it surprises people even in the industry, believe it or not, is fake accounts. So people signing up, be it for a Facebook account, a Twitter account, a bank account, an insurance account, or whatever account. 1 in 4 accounts that get created on the internet is a fake. 1 in 4 accounts is a fake. Unbelievable. So the ability as somebody being somebody, a bot, maybe a bot powered by a generative AI, so it's non-trivial. It looks a lot more like a real human being. During that enrollment, that creation of a new account, you gotta do the right checks to make sure that there's a human, a device, a history of interactions on the internet that looks real, not like some little bot gaming the system. So fake accounts, we got to keep out those 1 in 4 fake accounts. Um, Onboarding, but on the other hand, there's onboarding issues. If when somebody's creating that account, if you simply let them put in a phone number, an email address, and any random trivial password, you'll wind up with fake accounts. If you go the other way and you ask them 40 darn questions to sign up, your abandon rate will be too high. Nobody will go through the process. I don't, you don't. The way to get this just right, the way to ask somebody 3 or 4 questions, do the appropriate checks to make sure you've got real accounts, is to frankly fight AI with AI. You've got to have a machine learning digital identity system sitting behind that enrollment, making sure this really looks like Dan, looks like Dan's mobile phone, no anomalous behavior, location we would expect him to be, et cetera, et cetera. Of course, you can get that from TeleSign and others. Accounts created, account takeover. Every time somebody goes to log in, got to make sure it's Dan, got to make sure it's Dan's device, behaving the way we would expect you to behave, not a bot or a generative AI impersonating Dan. Interesting, the last one that we're hearing a lot about from our customers is promotion abuse. We're hearing about high value coupons, high value digital discounts being scooped by bots and AIs and used to actually steal literally billions of dollars of economic value. So, fake accounts, onboard them right, account takeovers, promotion abuse are the big four for me right now.
I'm glad that you drew the parallel. When I set it up talking about Gen AI,
Yeah.
the reason I really did that is because if you're in this space and you're a leader, you have to be thinking about the fact that your needs to build in these protections and to drive trust through your experience is going to have to get better because everything's happening faster. These things can code for you. These things can generate text for you. These things can, and they get smarter and smarter as we use them more. So everything that we put into the market that helps us do better business and be better at delivering customer also helps the bad guys be better at their work. And I think that's the parallel that everybody needs to draw. So I'd love to wrap this up talking a little bit about TeleSign. Um, this is clearly a passion. You're not doing this research for fun. You're doing it because you want to understand the opportunity. And sometimes the research outputs can be fun. But talk a little bit about how you're building technology that can enable organizations to deal with the threats that you just mentioned, and then create really that level of trust that needs to exist between brands and consumers for healthy relationships to flourish.
Well, those relationships are so important to us. I mean, we've known each other quite a while, Dan, and the promise of the internet, the promise of mobility and having the whole world available in your pocket is something I still strongly believe in. So at TeleSign, our mission is to make the digital world a safe place where trust is continuous. We do this by connecting, protecting, and defending the biggest brands and companies in the world directly to their consumer. So people can live without fear, can have their online life the way they want. Now, to up that game, we have to verify your identity as you create an account, as you sign on, every time you exchange anything of value on the internet. Um, trust has to be there. TeleSign has to be there. To do that, though, this is where my technical background comes in. It's so fantastic. We're looking at 2,200 different digital attributes every single time you go to sign on, create a transaction, etc. We're doing this because you mentioned CPAS early on. We're actually delivering and participating in about 5 billion interactions between about 5 billion unique phone numbers every month. So as we watch 5 billion phone numbers and the users behind them flow around the world, conduct their life, we're able to train those machine learning models so we continually have a feel of what does Dan look like versus a bot trying to look like Dan. So it's an exciting time. I love actually what generative AI and other AI technologies are going to be able to do for the world. But it's our job to protect you and make sure everything they're doing is for the good, not for some other purpose.
I love all that progress. And you mentioned that we have known each other for some time. We've had some opportunities to share a meal here and there. Joe, I got to ask you though, would you take advice from a bot of me?
Maybe on where to eat a meal, but not how to invest my money. But yeah,
All
yeah.
right, I'm working on that. I'm trying to figure out, can I scale with a bot? And so I'm having a little fun here, but
As we logged on to this, I actually did do a little telesign on the slide to make sure I had real Dan, not AI Dan. So
amazingly, you can figure that out. And in the future, the question is, how much can we monetize our likeness? Um, Joe, I'm very excited to hear about all the progress. I've been tracking TeleSign really closely since you arrived as the CEO. It's a big area of focus for the world is how do we enable people as everything moves more and more digital to be sure that the people and the companies that we're interacting with are the exactly what we think we're interacting with, and having the security blanket in our minds that there's technology that's really looking at this. It's really promising, and I hope that you guys can continue to develop, keep up with all the trends that are shaping, and of course deliver safer, more trusted transactions to everyone. Joe, thanks so much for joining me here at the 6 5 Summit.
Dan, thanks so much for having us.
All right, everybody, you heard it here. That's Joe Burton, TeleSign CEO. Really appreciated the conversation. Big topic. Trust matters. We hope and trust that you're having a great time here at the 6 5 Summit. Stay with us.